Aleph, Bet, Ret, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Chaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Fet, Tzadi, Kuf, Reish, Shin, Sin, Taf. Now I think I've said enough.
Welcome again to another lesson in our series From the Aleph Bet, a program for anyone of any age who wishes to learn how to read and understand Hebrew. And we always say it's especially the Hebrew that's part of the Jewish experience in America. I'm Mark Golub. It's always wonderful to be with you, and it's always wonderful to have your feedback. Thank you very, very much. Now I'm very anxious to teach you a new Hebrew letter. And it's the only Hebrew letter which makes a sound that we do not have in English. You know, every language has sounds that are unique to that language. So for example, we have the TH sound, as in the word the, which for me was the most difficult sound to learn as a child. The idea that a T and an H would make a th sound, as opposed to a th sound, it made absolutely no sense to me as a child. Anyway, there's no TH sound in Hebrew. And there's no CH ch sound in Hebrew. The sound we make when we put a C and an H together, as in the word cherry. And there's no j sound in Hebrew, like the English letter J or G in the word George. There's no j sound in Hebrew. And Hebrew has one sound, which English does not have. Interestingly enough, Russian has this sound, but not English. And it's a sound made by a very soft clearing of the throat. Actually, it's a very easy sound to make, especially if you don't force it or exaggerate it. And two Hebrew letters make this sound, which is called a guttural sound, since it comes from deep in the glottal area. And this is a very common sound in Semitic languages like Hebrew or Arabic. And the one Hebrew letter I want to teach you this lesson is the Hebrew letter Chet. Chet. Notice the Chet looks like a hey, except it has no hole on the side of it. There's no hole here. The Chet has no hole. It even looks a little bit like a Tuf, but the Chet doesn't have a big toe. Only the Tuf has a big toe. This is the Chet. And again, the Chet makes the sound of a slight clearing of the throat. By the way, we transliterate the Chet in English by the letters CH. Whenever you see a Hebrew word written with English letters C and H, the C and H represent the sound in Hebrew, not the English ch sound. There's no ch sound in Hebrew. So we use the ch to express the sound in Hebrew. And that's why this word is written with a ch at the beginning. This word, of course, is Chanukah. And it's written with a ch to express the sound. And if you ever hear someone reading or transliterating Hebrew pronouncing ch as a ch sound, you know that person doesn't know Hebrew. There's no ch sound in Hebrew. And this word is not pronounced Chanukah, but rather Chanukah. And this word is not pronounced Chala, but is pronounced Chala or Chala. So this Hebrew letter, Chet, the 8th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, is pronounced as the name Chet suggests, the slight clearing of the throat. So now how would you pronounce this Hebrew syllable? Cha is correct. Again, with this slight clearing of the throat. Cha. How about this syllable? Cho, or cho, is correct. Mitsuyan. And Hebrew is that easy. So let's learn a new Hebrew vowel the Segol. And it's pronounced eh as the short E in the English word bed. The Segol, like an upside down triangle of dots. Segol pronounced eh as in the English word bed. So how would you pronounce this syllable with the new letter chet and the new vowel Segol? Che is correct, mitsuyan. And just for fun, how about this syllable? Le is correct, mitsuyan, very good. How about this syllable? Be is correct. You see how easy it is? So how about this new Hebrew word? It's a very common Hebrew word that you've heard many times. Take your time. How many vowels are in this word? 2 is correct. Both of them are the new vowel Segol. And what are the letters of this real Hebrew word? The letters are Lamed, Chet, and the final Mem. So read each syllable separately and then put the 2 syllables together. How would you pronounce this real Hebrew word? Lechem is correct. Mitsuyan, mitsuyan, lechem. The first syllable is le, a lamed with a segol under it. The second syllable is chem, the chet with a segol, followed by a final mem, and the word is pronounced lechem. And notice in this word, the accent is on the first syllable. Normally in Hebrew, the accent is on the le syllable, but when you have a Hebrew word with 2 segols in it, 2 in a row, the word tends to be accented on the first syllable. Lechem. So what does lechem mean? Lechem means bread. Bread. And many of you know the Jewish blessing, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, who brings forth bread from the earth, lechem. And that is the word that is, again, perhaps the most important word in the blessing called the motzi. And here's one more Hebrew word with the letter chet. How will you pronounce this 2-syllable Hebrew word? Chala is correct. Mitsuyan, mitsuyan, mitsuyan. And what is chala? It's the holiday bread Jews eat on Shabbat and on other Jewish holidays. It tends to be twisted and braided on Shabbat, and it tends to be round on other Jewish holidays. But either way, challah, or challah, as many people say it, challah is delicious. Alex, is challah delicious?
Superb.
It's superb. It's superbly delicious. And by the way, challah obviously is a type of lechem, a type of bread. And so now the fun is to go on and teach you another Hebrew letter and another Hebrew vowel. And the first letter I'm about to teach you, I've never come up with a good hint, a new trick to understanding what the sound of this letter is or what the name of the letter is. You may come up with your own. If you do, by the way, feel free to email me or to mail me your suggestion for how I can associate something with this letter. But Alex, let's put the next letter up on the screen. This letter is called the nun in Hebrew. The nun. And this is obviously the equivalent of the English letter N. It makes the N sound in Hebrew. And if we put a dagesh in the middle of the nun, it is pronounced the same way. N, n, nun. A dagesh does not change most Hebrew letters. Any letter can have a dagesh. Remember what a dagesh does, by the way. It's a grammatical device. It's like doubling a letter. And we have the same thing in English. You know, if I wrote on the screen, let's put up on the screen, L-I-T. the word lit. I lit the candle. We see that the T is pronounced simply as a T, as a T. We can write a longer word, little, L-I-T-T-L-E, little. The T is doubled, but in English, it does not change the sound that one makes when one reads the T. It's still little. And we know from our grammar school education that we always divide a word between the two T's. When two letters are come in a row, we always divide the word between the double letters. But the sound is as if there's only one T there, little. And that's exactly what a dagesh does in Hebrew. A dagesh technically doubles the letter the dagesh goes into. And for certain grammatical reasons, a letter must be doubled. But in terms of the reality of speaking Hebrew, the way it's pronounced, the dagesh does nothing to the sound except for three Hebrew letters, one of which is the bet, which we've taught you already. But in most instances, although the dagesh is this grammatical device, it does not affect the way you pronounce a Hebrew word. And most Hebrew letters may be doubled, and therefore most Hebrew letters can take a dagesh inside them. When you see the dagesh, it does not change the sound of the letter. Later on, you're going to learn it does change the sound of a Shva if a Shva comes under a letter with a dagesh in it. But in terms of the sound the letter makes, the dagesh is irrelevant when you see it. So now you've seen the letter nun. Why don't we take that nun and put a few vowels under it? Let's see how you do. Here's a nun with a patach. It is pronounced na. Very good. How about with a kamatz? Na again. How about with a cholam? Cholam maleh. No is correct. Very good. How about now with a cholam chaser? No again. Very, very good. And what if we put a segol under a nun? Ne is correct. Mitsuyan. So how about a new vowel? Let's teach a new vowel, Alex. Let's put a shuruk up next to the letter nun. Notice the shuruk is a vertical line with a dot inside it, almost a dagesh inside it. And at one point we're going to teach you that this vertical line is also a Hebrew letter. And if it's a letter, the dot inside is a dagesh, and we'll deal with that later. Right now, this vertical line is part of the vowel oo. This is the vowel oo in English, and it's called a shuruk. And we have an animation for you here. You remember the animation that shows if you get hit on top of the head, it's O. But if you get hit in the stomach, it's oo. So the dot on top of this vertical line is O, the cholam. If the vertical line has a dot in it, it makes the vowel sound oo. So how would you pronounce this syllable? Nu is correct. Mitsuyan. Nu. Mitsuyan. How would you pronounce this syllable? Chu is correct. Mitsuyan. How about this syllable? Bu is correct. Mitsuyan. How about this syllable? Shu is correct. It's that simple. And just as there are two ways to write the O sound, the O vowel in Hebrew, there's another way to write the U sound in Hebrew. And here it is, 3 dots going down in a row. And I always imagine sliding down those 3 dots, just sliding down them. And when you slide down a hill, you go, ooh. This is the kubutz. And the kubutz and the shuruk make exactly the same sound. Ooh. The shuruk and the kubutz. So how would you pronounce this syllable? Again, it's nu. How about this syllable? Tu. with the tuf, mitsuyan. How about this syllable? Ooh, that's right. It's the silent aleph with the kubutz under it. And these are the two vowels which make the ooh sound. I want to show you another Hebrew letter. Take a look at this letter, and it looks very much like a letter you've already learned. And Alex, we're going to put right by its side the letter that it looks like. It looks like a bet. But notice the bet has the bed, and this new letter is sort of like a backwards C in English. There's no bed. And that's the way you easily distinguish this new letter from a bet. And this is the letter kaf in Hebrew. Kaf. Kaf. And one of the things you really have to memorize is that a kaf with a dagesh in it makes the English sound of k. K. Kaf. And some people have said it reminds them of a cat's eye to get the k sound. Some people think of it as what used to be cufflinks that men used to wear, and they often were round, and so you put a cufflink inside the cuff. I happen to like that one. The cuff has a cufflink inside, but please remember the cuff has the dagesh, the little dot inside it, and the kaf is one of the three letters that does make a different sound depending on whether it does or does not have a dagesh. When the kaf has the dagesh, the cufflink, it makes a K sound. Later on we'll learn that if you take the dagesh out of the kaf, it makes the same sound as the chet, the slight clearing of the throat. But today we're only concerned with the kaf that has a dagesh, or a cufflink inside it, or a cat's eye. It is the kaf, the K sound. So if that's true, let's try these one vowel syllables. How would you pronounce this syllable? Ka is correct. That's with the patach. How about with the kamatz? Ka is correct again. By the way, what if we add a hey to this syllable? How would you pronounce it now? It's still ka. Very good. At the end of a syllable, the hey is silent. Ka. How about this syllable? Ko is correct. Mitsuyan. And this syllable? Ko again. The cholam chaser. It's still ko. How about this syllable? Ke is correct. Mitsuyan. Ke. And finally, the kaf with the vowels we've learned in this lesson. Ku. There it is with the shuruk. Ku. And finally, ku again with the kubutz, the three dots going down. Mitsuyan, mitsuyan. I want to show you one more. I wouldn't say it's tricky, but it's something you have to really understand, and it's one of the few things that take a moment of concentration when you study Hebrew. I want to show you the letter Aleph, and then I want to put a vowel sound under it. Here's the Aleph, and first I want to put a Shva under the Aleph. So here's the Shva. And we've only learned so far the silent Shva, but you can't put a silent Shva under a silent Aleph. It makes no sound and makes no sense. So what Hebrew does is it adds a vowel sound to give the Shva some body, some sound. It adds a vowel to the Shva. And here is what it looks like. Here you see a patach that's been added to a Shva. Now I have a question for you. Do you remember the one absolute rule about the Shva? Alex, what's the absolute rule about the Shva?
It's never counted as a vowel.
A Shva is never counted as a vowel. Mitsuyan, Alex. A Shva is never counted as a vowel. And if you take a Shva and add the vowel sound of the patach to it, it's still a Shva. Even though it makes a sound, it's still a Shva. It's pronounced as a shorter patach, sort of ah, instead of ah. Ah. Not ah, but ah. But it makes a sound. It's called a chataf patach. It's still a Shva. It makes an ah sound, but it's still a Shva. It's not an ah with a Shva added to it. It's a Shva with a little bit of an ah added to it to give the Shva some body. It's still a Shva. My friends, this is the trick to reading Hebrew. Remember I said to you, the trick to reading Hebrew is to understand how the Shva works. And I even said to you one time earlier, even if the Shva is pronounced, it is never counted as a vowel. What you're seeing on the screen right now, the chataf patach, is not a vowel with a Shva next to it. Oh no. And that's how I learned it as a child. When I saw this, I used to think it's an ah with a Shva next to it. No, it's not. It's a Shva with an ah giving it some body, a little bit of sound. But it still is a Shva. And therefore, even though it makes a vowel sound, in Hebrew, it's not a vowel and it's not counted as a vowel. The chataf patach, a Shva with a bit of an ah sound next to it, is not a vowel in Hebrew. And therefore, if we count the number of syllables in a word, this is not counted as one of them. And again, because it's different than English, we're used to counting every vowel sound in English as a vowel. Because it's different than English, it'll take a moment to really become comfortable with the way Hebrew works. But every language has its own integrity. And for Hebrew, a Shva is never counted as a vowel. And in Hebrew, vowels create syllables. It's as if you know anything about music, it's as if they're all equal beats, as if they're all equal quarter notes. So for example, if you put this word up on the screen, Alex, Shabbat, it has two syllables and each syllable has the same beat to it. Shabbat. And we simply accent one of the syllables. Shabbat. Here's another word. Torah. Torah. Equal beats. Shabbat, Torah. And in Hebrew, what a chataf patach, what any Shva and a vowel do is create a rhythm of a grace note in Hebrew. Not, but. So I want to put up one Hebrew syllable that has a chataf patach in it and a real vowel. Take a look at this syllable, which has only one vowel. Tell me what the vowel is. You're correct. The only vowel here is the shuruk, the vowel u, that follows the nun. So how would you read this one Hebrew syllable, even though the chataf patach under the Aleph is going to make a sound? If you said anu, you would be correct. The entire syllable is anu, and it's not anu, it's anu. And that's just the difference between Hebrew and English. Wherever we hear a vowel sound, we tend to think it is a vowel in English, and that it comprises as a syllable. But in Hebrew, a Shva is never counted as a vowel. Ever, never. And that's the secret to reading Hebrew. A Shva is never counted as a vowel, no matter what. When you see a Shva standing alone or with a vowel sound, it is not a vowel. And therefore, once again, this syllable is anu. It's a one vowel syllable in Hebrew, just one vowel. I want to change the first letter and see if you can now read this one syllable, because the chataf patach under the first letter here, the chet, is not a vowel. So we still only have one syllable. Can you read this one Hebrew syllable? If you said chanu, you are correct. Chanu. Not chanu, but chanu. It's like a grace note leading into a full beat of the real syllable nu, chanu. And I'll remind you of this very, very often. It's something, again, we just have to get used to. You have to get used to it as you begin to learn Hebrew. But the rule is simple. It's a simple rule. Wherever you see a Shva, no matter what, it's never counted as a vowel. Alex, a Shva is?
Never counted as a vowel.
What if it has a vowel next to it?
Never counted as a vowel.
Alex has got it. It's never counted as a vowel. I thank Alex for playing this game with me. He does it very, very well. The truth is that Alex knows Hebrew very well, and he's the one who does all the graphics for us, and it's wonderful to have him doing this. Thank you, Alex. But the important thing to understand here is a Shva is never counted as a vowel, and when it makes a sound, it's a grace note. Chanu. It's not chanu, but chanu. One syllable, chanu. And now I want to add the new letter to this word to make a real word you know. Take a look now at this real word you know. Okay, what's this word? And can you read it as a two-syllable word? Because it only has two vowels. What are the two vowels? The shuruk, very, very good, and the kubutz, under the new letter, the kaf. So how would you read this real Hebrew word? And if you said Chanukah, you are absolutely correct. Mitsuyan, mitsuyan. The first syllable is chanu. The second syllable is ka. And you put the word together, you get Chanukah. And it's not Chanukah, it's Chanukah, a two-syllable word. And again, we pronounce it any old way in English. Chanukah, 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 Chanukah. The actual way to pronounce this word, if you're saying it in Hebrew, is Chanukah, 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 Chanukah. Two-syllable word, just two. And since we're learning the word Chanukah, what does it mean? Actually, the word Chanukah means dedication, or sometimes it's rededication. But it basically means to dedicate something. And that's what the holiday of Chanukah is all about. It's when the Maccabees were victorious against the Syrians in the city of Jerusalem, and they liberated the ancient temple, the second temple, which stood at the Temple Mount. And if you remember the story, the Syrian army had completely ruined, virtually sacked the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, the symbolic home of God on earth, and had put statues in, and statue of Antiochus Epiphanes, the Syrian ruler, and had defiled it in many, many ways. And when the Maccabees were able to win back Jerusalem and win back the Temple Mount, virtually the first thing they did was to cleanse the temple, to make it beautiful once again, and then to rededicate it to open the temple again to the entire Jewish community. Rededication is what the Maccabees did, and it's the central event, the central purpose of the holiday of Chanukah, the rededication of God's home on earth, the Temple Mount. And because when the first temple was built by King Solomon, and when he built it, he again dedicated it for the very first time. And he dedicated it on the holiday of Sukkot, an 8-day holiday. When the Maccabees wished to rededicate the temple that they had cleansed, they decided they would create a second Sukkot. And so the holiday of Chanukah was celebrated by the Maccabees for 8 days, just as Solomon had commemorated the opening of his temple, the dedication of his temple, initially with an 8-day holiday. And the Syrians actually had kept the Jews from celebrating Sukkot when it came around in the calendar, and so the Maccabees actually called their holiday a second Sukkot, which is the historical reason why Jews celebrate Chanukah for 8 nights and 8 days. And then later on, the rabbis created this marvelous story of how the menorah, the 7-branch candelabra inside the temple, had no oil. And the story has it that we needed oil from the north, the pure olive oil that comes from the north of Israel, or Judea at the time, had to be found and brought down. And it would take 8 nights, 8 days for the oil to come from the north of Israel, Judea, down to Jerusalem. And the story has the miracle of the menorah in the temple lasting on 1 night's worth of oil for 8 nights. And so it's this marvelous story that we tell, and it symbolizes the spiritual miracle of Chanukah. And we light the menorah now, the Chanukah, the 9-branched or 8-branched menorah, with the 9th branch being the shamash that's used to light the other 8 candles. We celebrate that on Chanukah, lighting the menorah for 8 consecutive nights. But the word Chanukah means dedication, and it's what the Maccabees did with the temple after they defeated the Syrian army back in the 160s, 163, 162 BCE. And there you see how one reads a chataf patach, and the most critical rule to remember here is that a Shva is never counted as a vowel, even when a vowel sound is attached to that Shva. And so in this word, Chanukah, there you have a 2-syllable word, the U, the Shuruk, and the Kubutz under the Kaf, and the first syllable is Chanu, and the second syllable is Ka. I hope you enjoyed that lesson of From the Aleph Bet, and remember, you can download lesson sheets and worksheets for every lesson of this series free of charge. Just visit the JBS website homepage at jbstv.org and click on the program icon for From the Aleph Bet. And then click on the very first option, From the Aleph Bet Hebrew Study Sheets. And for anyone who can send JBS a tax-deductible donation of $180 or more, we'll be pleased to send you the entire 20-program Series 1 of From the Aleph Bet on DVD, complete with a CD of lesson sheets and worksheets. JBS, expanding Jewish understanding, celebrating all things Jewish. Be well, my friends.
Aleph, Bet, Red, Gimel, Dalet.